please let us read that. A reminder about the affiliate meeting after the conference for ACM members and students at Aaron Butcher at 6 o'clock. You can see one of us if you need directions, it's very close by. And Jane Dyer, our regional rep, is going to start out the afternoon for us. Jane.
Thank you. I realize that I'm standing between you and the most amazing speakers, so I'm not going to take very long. I long ago learned in Grand Rounds that an expert is somebody who knows two things, and in those days we had slides. I don't have a PowerPoint or slides, which makes me not an expert. What I am is a regular old ACM member. And thank you, and I say that because never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would be a regional representative. So I'm planting the seed that somewhere in this room, there is a regional representative waiting to happen. It's so nice to be here. I want to thank Glenn and Diana, who just have worked amazingly hard with their team. I also want to say congratulations to the new Tucson president back there. Monica, stand up and wave your hands so the Tucson people and the non-Tucson people can know who you are. Because one of the things that happens here in the Intermountain West, so my states are, I say mine, they're not my states, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas. We have the largest region in all of ACM. We have the largest geographic region in ACM. What that means is we have pockets of nurse midwives in large expanses of great space, which makes getting together difficult. So I would encourage Arizona to do what some of the other states have done, just begin to get really good at technology and begin to find ways to connect through technology, as well as plan more joint kinds of things over time. I think that brings people together and breaks down barriers. One of the things we're seeing in the world and nationally is that people can't seem to talk very well together. Anybody else frustrated about that besides me? I'm really frustrated. So the more barriers we can break down, the better. And it's been wonderful. I was here last year. It's great to see some familiar faces, and I've been able to meet some new folks. A couple of quick thoughts. I think personally that what goes on locally tends to revolve around hospital privileges, relationships with other healthcare providers. What goes on at the state level is what the affiliate needs to manage. And so that's why a strong affiliate is really important. And then finally, what goes on at the national level is what the national office often is involved with. And you had Jesse last year here, who was an amazing, the man's brain frightens me. And he's just done another whole piece that will roll out. And so tap into those national office people. A couple of things that are going on at the national level. So my job is I write that column called the Inside Scoop that I send out to every dues-paying member of any kind within ACM in my region. And it's sort of what really goes on at those board meetings. What do they really talk about? And so that's my column. And one of the things we spent a lot of time on recently is the strategic plan. And the very first thing on the strategic plan is service to members. That does not mean that we do the work at the local or the state level. That's not what happens at the national level. But it is the job. I want you to know that members are number one on that. You heard this morning a little bit about U.S. Merit. Does everybody know what U.S. Merit is? What do you think the U.S. stands for? What do you think the M stands for? Midwifery. Not even just maternal, midwifery specific. ERA is education, regulation, and accreditation. My joke is you get 2 midwives in a room, you have these 3 opinions. Okay? 7 national midwifery organizations have been meeting since last year, reaching consensus to try and produce statements that raise the education, the regulation, and accreditation of midwives across the country to ICM standards. This is huge. These are groups that wouldn't even talk to each other a couple of decades ago. Now, I realize that it took the folks who founded the UN only 4 months to come together to form the UN. We're having a little more difficulty. That's why it's taking over a couple of years, but we're getting there, and statements are beginning to come out. This is huge, so start reading about US Mirror. When Ginger talked about the Lancet series this morning, there's the kind of information that you need to read and digest, and then you need to translate it for people. The other thing I've done as a regional reference recently is I've attended the District 8 ACOG meeting. And District 8 for ACOG is about like our Region 6 for ACNM. So I was able to meet Arizona's section or state president and vice president, both of whom are women. And what was so fascinating to me was it was a really cool room. There were all these kind of really suited guys, you know, and like the president of ACOG who knew my name, which was really frightening. And then there were all of these younger physicians, men and women. And they got into a fairly tense discussion about old guard and new voices. There are a huge number of new obstetricians who want reasonable lives, who want to partner, and we need to be able to talk with those folks. So it was an amazing, that's not what they had started out to do, and there was a very brave woman who started that conversation. The other thing I learned was that the women always knit. And there were people knitting in an ACOG meeting. That's like unheard of as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot more, one of the things, and I'm sorry, Ginger's not here to hear these nice words, is that there has been a lot more conversation with different groups from ACNM than ever before. And so I encourage you, if you have not invited, I don't know if you have, if you have not invited your ACOG president to come to an affiliate meeting, I highly recommend that. Because you know what, they're people too. And they want better outcomes, and they want to partner. So that's what some other affiliates have done, is invited their ACOG president. Now, we don't always agree. We don't always agree with ACOG. In the Water statement, you know, has problems with that. But we're talking with them, which is really, really important. So one of the nice things about coming here is we get to celebrate what's going well, we get invigorated to do more. So I would challenge all of you in this room, whether you're an ACNM member or not, to take on one piece of something. Who do you know who is a lapsed member? I happen to have a friend who I'm working on right now, who's a lapsed member. It's time for them to become members again. Who do you know who's never been a member? It's time for them to become members. What one piece of the Lancet series can you read about and become so comfortable with that you can be seen as the expert within your practice? And they can drag you out of a room when they need somebody to talk about the Lancet series. So I challenge all of you to do one piece. We can't do it all. One person cannot do it all. But if we each take a piece, we can do that. My final thing is, where's the annual, and this is the other thing I just said this to somebody, you know how old you are if you call a convention, right? So it's not convention, Jane, it's annual meeting. I'm old. So where's the annual meeting next year? Albuquerque. How many people in this room are going to be able to go? Okay. If you don't have your hand up and you're staying home to cover the practice, I applaud you. If there is any way you can get there, and tell us we're going to be as expensive as DC. So come to Albuquerque. Obviously, you have somebody in the room who has sort of inside scoop on what's going on in the meeting, and so if you have any questions, she's your woman. So I'm going to turn it back over to Diane. Who's introducing? I'm going to turn it back over to Diane. This is my face. Don't be a stranger. My email is on the ACNM website. I am happy to talk to people on the weekends. I'm always on the computer. I'm happy to talk to you. If you have a question or something that I can help you with, please let me know.
All right, our next speaker probably doesn't need much of an introduction, although some of you might not know her, so a bit about her. Simkin is a physical therapist who has specialized in childhood education and labor sports since 1968. She estimates she has prepared over 13,000 women and couples considering for childbirth. She has assisted hundreds of women and couples through childbirth as a doula. She is authored or co-authored books for parents and professionals, including the Labor Progress Handbook, who has conceived we brought her son today. Pregnancy, childbirth, and the newborn, the complete guide. When survivors give birth, understanding and healing the effects of early sexual abuse of childbearing women. The birth partner, complete guide to childbirth for dads, doulas, and all other labor companions. She has developed teaching materials for birth classes and produced several videos for educators, doulas, and families. The latest of which is for siblings to be There's a Baby. She is co-founder of DONA International. She currently serves on the editorial board of the journal Birth, Issues of Perinatal Care, and serves on the senior faculty at the Simkin Center for Early Birth Education at Pasteur University, which was named in her honor. Today, her practice consists of childbirth education, birth counseling, and labor support, combined with busy scheduled conferences and workshops. We are really proud to have Annie Simkin here today.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. What a great conference so far. Now I feel really spoiled. Talking about trauma. So I think I'm going to plan about a 2-hour talk since we're running a little bit behind, and that's because we've got to get it done. So I'm trying to be on time. Someone comes up with a cane and pulls me off the stage at the right time. So today we're going to talk about traumatic birth and harm healing for women, families, and their care providers. I do want to take some time, after exploring the impact of trauma on the childbearing woman and her family, I need to talk with you about the impact on you. We don't know so much about the providers and what they go through when someone is suffering a traumatic birth that they're trying to help with. And it's called secondary traumatic stress disorder. And I'd like to go over that with you because I have a feeling that many of you in this room have gone through such trauma and maybe still feeling a little bit empty or misunderstood or unattended to in that role. So that's what I'm trying to say. So we'll start off. I'll introduce the problem. And we'll define and talk about the incidence of traumatic birth. We'll talk about childbirth as an etiology of PTSD or PTSS. It's post-traumatic stress symptoms, which is quite as serious as PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. We'll talk about other etiologies for that as well as childbirth. And then we'll talk about the impact this has on the birthing person and loved ones. We're going to talk about risk factors because some people are at much higher risk for traumatic birth that becomes PTSD than others. And we're going to then get into some practical approaches. And this is one of my favorite things. I have really loved learning about how on the home, in labor, I might be able to keep this one who's having traumatic birth from developing PTSD. It's a worthy goal. And we'll talk about identifying this during birth and preventing it and resolving it afterwards, and then the impact on care. So it's a lot to try to cover them out, try to do it justice. And I do want to cultivate a disclaimer. I am not a therapist. I'm not an expert on physical therapist. And overall, this year has been 47 years. And is anyone looking at this all the time? There teach childbirth classes and say the same thing for 47 years straight. But I'm not good at let me. If you come up with problems or dilemmas, and I get trouble by doing that, I'm trying to work on them. And I find the whole, every aspect of maternity care to be fascinating. So who knows what direction I'm going? I'm on the microbiome now. So, and epigenetics, so who knows what I'm going to say. So, PTSD and childbirth. And often misunderstood postpartum mood disorder. It it's only been really quite recently that people have even recognized that there's a difference between postpartum depression. Many times women are diagnosed with postpartum depression, and all the therapies and medications that are used are useless. They don't help at all. And it's because they don't have postpartum depression. They have postpartum PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's often misunderstood, which is not getting a handle on it. And I do want to shout out this book by Cheryl Beck. Cheryl Beck is a champion, if you don't know it. From that chapter, this is an amazing book. She covers everything. This came out in 2013. I think actually I had a slide talking about that. So now, most things that are traumatizing we think of as being really negative, don't we? Like an automobile accident or war or domestic violence and that sort of thing is trauma. But we don't usually think of childbirth as trauma. Childbirth is joyous. Childbirth means remember families. So our perceptions of a happy family like this, and our cultural expectations are this is going to be joyous and it's going to end with an adorable baby. Is that realistic or not? It's certainly what most people anticipate when they become pregnant and go through pregnancy. And most family relatives are looking forward with great excitement to the new baby. But unexpected parents expecting too much. Could that be why they feel traumatized afterwards? They thought it was going to be this glorious, orgasmic experience, and then it wasn't. I don't think many people are really realistically thinking about it. I'm going for an orgasm. Many people are, expecting more from the birth experience than it deserves. See, and isn't it really enough? Isn't it enough to satisfy somebody? So here's some other beautiful things, water. This is what all of them look for. And I bet there's some people in this room who have maybe a situation that looks like this at the end. I was hearing about one last night that one of the midwives that some of you work with, and then I wanted to work, and I'm so happy about that. It doesn't always work that way, though. And I also think hospitals are asking for a little, they're getting themselves in trouble. These are just some ads from the internet that I got from different hospitals. Your plan for an ideal labor, and then when it comes to happy babies, we deliver maternity care suites, and your wishes are very kind. So they're marketing, maybe a little unrealistic too, and may be parents down a golden path that doesn't actually materialize. And is that a lot of sacred drama to you? This beautiful birth room? Let's look at my bedroom. It's got flowers and things. And so it's people are expecting what they often get. So, how else are you trying to some expectations of those? This is a drum band that was actually published in very strong poetry some years ago now. This is what her birth was. And she, I think I can see there, and got a little later, but she says, when she had a healthy baby, she says, weak, stupid, so weak. In the system now, instrumental delivery, watching the forceps, induction, epidural, failure, my own fault, should have stopped it, should have gone home, stupid. Why was I unlucky? Own fault. Why didn't you? Worst nightmare, fail. And look at these forceps with the salty tongue. And these huge eyes and all that white. So this is how one woman portrays her birth. And your expectations of what I just showed you. What a blow. This is what I work with. I'm not therapist, so I'm not pretending to be. But sometimes I am a first stop. In the Seattle area, refer to me as sort of the first stop. And then I might send them to therapists or psychiatrists or something, depending on what way it's good for you. But this is one way that I approach it. I asked her if she could, she was having a hard time talking about the birth. As many do, it's hard to put into words sometimes the feelings that some of these unexpected things bring up. And but so this one had 2 days of contractions at home. She was 6 to 7 centimeters on arrival at the hospital. Everything was great. She was going well, and this is the picture here. The birthing delivery area was across the street from the Safeway. So she was sitting there on the rocker looking out the window, and they were birthing Safeway. She had the birth ball, she has a pool. And so she was doing well. Everything was going, and she had pooped. And then my jacket line here, this is her jacket line, and then chaos, all had broke loose. She stalled at 8 centimeters, and she stayed there for 6 hours. She had an epidural and pitocin. She pushed for 4 hours. She had a back-to-back delivery with a 4-3 tear. The baby had torticollis, spinal neck syndrome, and was sent to the NICU. And then 13 weeks later, her hair still had not healed. And they had actually had to debride it once or twice. I can't remember if it was once or twice. And she was really angry and felt hopeless about everything better. And so this is what she drew. And she said, all I am is a big bloody gash. So she was really down, and I could tell that she needed more than the physical therapist to do her, you know. But I was able to help her, and recognize that she needed to go to a really good trauma therapist. This is one of the things we said. Because she had depression, we sent her to the wrong kind of therapist. But the trauma therapist is where we go with our trauma. Okay, so what's the definition of traumatic birth? And combining two, it's interesting that in 1994, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association came out with their definition of birth trauma, trauma. And they haven't changed until 2013. It was 19 years before they changed that. But most of the research that has been done on trauma and PTSD is based on the old definition. So we're going to give you part of that now. And this is a critical part of it. During labor and birth, so we talk about traumatic birth. So during labor and birth, the individual believes, and put that in the doubts for a reason, that her life is in danger or a serious threat to her own or her baby's physical integrity exists. And she feels, and that's the feeling and believing are really important here. She feels helpless, out of control, alone, unsupported. So it's a combination, but it's all based on her belief, because often she never was in trouble. And probably you as midwives have been with people where you've had a hemorrhage that scared the daylights out of her and your partner, but you got it well controlled in no time. And she left the heat, she almost died. And you know she didn't, you don't even realize how scared she was. Or the baby may have needed some resuscitation, but the baby responded beautifully. She thought her baby was about dead. You know, so it's her belief, her perception is the reality for her. And this, I'm going to come back to this because we judge her as being wrong. That isn't what happened. Let me correct you. And then she's thinking, you're trying to tell me I know I almost died. And so then there's pushback and tension, and we don't get anywhere. So hold that thought, because I hate to say it, but this is what they said out in a new definition of trauma. Was the feeling out of control and unsupported. And to me, that is key. So, and many of us in the birth community are arguing against that, against taking that out. But anyway, so a lot of research is not using that definition. And Cheryl Beck, wrote a paper in 2004, a classic paper, and she titled it "Traumatic Childbirth in the Eyes of the Beholder." And that's, you know, that's what we have. Her experience is the reality we're dealing with, not what will really happen. And so as she does a lot of these wonderful qualitative studies, and some more on later, she should really be up here giving this talk because she's so wonderful. The movie exam has changed the criteria a little bit. I'm going to go over these quickly. But they talk about indirect or direct exposure to a traumatic or stressful event. So that's okay. Indirect would be my baby's in trouble. So that's okay. Then there are classifications of symptoms. There are intrusion symptoms. And these are flashbacks or memories of the event, recurring nightmares, intense, prolonged distress when reminded of the event. So often the woman is doing the dishes or something, all of a sudden she's remembering the patient in a flashback. And that's something she can control well. So that's intrusion symptoms. Avoidance symptoms. She's avoiding the pain associated with us, trying very hard not to talk about it, to be with anyone who knows about it, or feels feelings. She doesn't want to go places where she's going to run into people that she works with, going back to her 6-week appointment or whatever it is, after the baby is born. She will, I know of women who have driven blocks just so they won't go by the hospital when they gave birth, because they get this, this hard time they can't just be close to the parents. Then we have negative changes in beliefs and mood. Some people have no memory of the event. And that's because in that traumatic situation, they dissociate. They put their mind leaves their body, so to speak. But they can develop amnesia, and that's the only way they can survive. Dissociation is a very powerful survival technique for trauma. And then sometimes persistent, distorted, negative expectations are regarding oneself. And I had it, I could have gotten up and walked out and said something, I could have left the hospital, I should have done that. Then they could have done this or this week. Things that aren't realistic at all, but just her mind is just trying to find solutions. She may blame others, and there was a bit of blame. I speak for myself first. As a child educator, I've been accused of beating people down the garden path, And I know midwives get blamed. Good, wonderful, kind, conscientious midwives are often seen as the problem. Well, not often, sometimes seen as the problem by their care providers, many doctors, nurses, and but the need to, and this is part of the grieving response actually. Elizabeth Ross had being blamed persistent negative emotional state and inability to have positive feelings about anything. Something that she always loved to do. No, I don't feel like it. I don't go for a walk with my friend. Baby doesn't really like me, just doesn't smile at me, doesn't he likes me. Always put in negative parents on me. Diminished interest in meaningful activities and detachment or estrangement from others. This is one of the saddest things. There's so many wonderful groups available for mothers and their babies. And many of them are needed the most on home. They stay isolated because they just can't face being around happy people or people who had a good birth experience or something like that. And even the groups that are for traumatized women. I've had some of the people I've worked with have gone, oh, those people, they talk all the time and there's nothing and nobody hears us. And they, I don't want to talk to them, they won't get it. So it's really hard to be restored in a community setting. Now, sometimes people don't have all of these things, okay? That's nine out of all these groups, basic diagnosis. And routine alterations in arousal and reactivity, reckless or destructive behavior, irritable, angry, aggressive, sometimes very short fuse, and finding themselves feeling angry over things that they normally wouldn't feel angry about. Reckless and self-destructive. I don't know how often that happens. I think women who are feeling have PTSD are doing self-destructive things when they know they are loving this baby. Excellent. No, hypervigilant, always on her, can't sleep. I think they heard the baby take a breath. Or I think the baby might have choked. Being worried about anyone else holding the baby. I can't go back to the car, might have an accident. They're just on the edge. They stop uneasily, delayed. I have to concentrate on things that sleeps disturbances. And then we sleep more than one, because we can't see. And still, the least my notes. I sometimes have a way of doing the screen, but it's a total of 9 symptoms from all those groups. I don't think we need to go any further into that because that is the most important part of this talk. We just get an idea of also negativity in thoughts and actions associated with PTSD and childbirth. So what is the impact? Susan Ayers is a brilliant researcher from England, and she knows so much about birth trauma and recovery. She publishes so often in NPS when it's talking. She's brilliant. Anyway, she talks about, based on her research, that birth-related PTSD, that she may have lasting negative effects on her physical well-being. And it could be from physical injury, along with from rude behavior, social interactions, and fear of future childbirth. This has been very interesting for me. Often, a woman would on paper look like a very traumatic birth, and yet it doesn't seem to be traumatic. She doesn't react in the ways I just given you. And she is taking good care of her baby, and it seems, I guess that this doesn't affect her so much. She's pretty resilient. Then she becomes pregnant again, and all of a sudden, it all comes back. I see a lot. I always tell people, if you ever want to talk about it again, I'm always interested because I am. I'm learning everything I know. I've learned from women. And I had one woman who told me 5.5 years after her baby was born, she was pregnant again, and she had not made this woman practice self and nursing for a long time because of pain. She became pregnant again, and all of a sudden, all the traumas, all the symptoms came out very suddenly. It's called delayed PTSD.